Pokemon, a franchise that is beloved by me and so many other people. There's so many reasons that go into the fact why people love this franchise so much. I mean, everyone has a favorite moment from when they've played a Pokemon game from either their youth or recently. Think about it like this. I can remember so clearly how I felt when I first saw this cutscene of this mysterious Pokemon lighting up and saving this girl. Since of course this was the very beginning of the game, I didn't know who she was, I didn't know what the Pokemon was, I only knew what game I was playing, but I was still intrigued. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm really easy to impress, especially when it comes to Pokemon games. I've loved Pokemon ever since I was little, and even if a Pokemon game is flawed in some way, it's still going to take a lot out of me to say, oh yeah, this game is bad. But of course, with every great franchise, there's an exception to everything. Now, before we get into this video, there are a few things I would like to discuss. My voice still sounds awful, I sound congested, and I apologize if that affects your satisfaction while viewing this video. Another thing I'd like to mention is that this video is strictly my opinion. If you enjoyed Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, good, I am happy for you. If anything, I'm actually jealous because I would like to enjoy these games too. But I still hate to admit it, if you do enjoy these games, I'm a little confused, but I'm happy that they make you happy. And now that those two things are set aside, now we can get to the main point of this video. I cannot tell you how excited I was when Scarlet and Violet was first released. I wanted a copy of it immediately, and when I finally got the game and began to play it, I was so excited. And let's just say the opening cutscene did not help at all. If anything, it made me even more excited. At first, the concept of an open world Pokemon game made me really happy. But very, very quickly, unfortunately, this happiness would come to an end. The fate that the Pokemon franchise is coming to after Scarlet and Violet, and even Sword and Shield, if you want to get picky, is actually kind of tragic. I think Nintendo is trying to be more original and different with its concepts, but it's kind of sending the whole Pokemon franchise down the drain. But in order to avoid negativity for now, I will first talk about the positive things. Some of the only character designs I really liked were Team Star's designs, so I can leave them out of the character design aspect for what I'm going to talk about later. I also really enjoyed Arven's story. I wish they did more with it or made it more of a main plot point. Arven is actually my favorite character in the whole game if I had to pick one, which kind of says a lot about the characters in this game, but I can get to that later. I liked the starter Pokemon too. I thought they were good additions to my team, and they are some of my favorites that I've seen in a while. They did them horrendously dirty in this cutscene though. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I got. And since we're already on that topic, I can talk about the characters. Quick warning, Sun and Moon is actually my favorite Pokemon game, so I will be comparing Scarlet and Violet to it a lot, just because I could talk about Sun and Moon probably for hours on end, so there's your warning. Compare Scarlet and Violet to this. This is your first time seeing your second rival in Sun and Moon. And from the moment you see him first, you know he's a threat, you know that he's not someone to be messed with. And he's practically the polar opposite of How, your other rival. He's dismissive and a little rude, and he sees Pokemon battling as battling and not something to have fun with. And then he says this: battle me, I won't take no for an answer. Just like how Pokemon Sun and Moon is my favorite Pokemon game, Gladion is one of my favorite characters of all time. Same with How, same with Professor Kukui, same with a lot of the characters in Sun and Moon. And I think you know where I'm going with this point. Specific Pokemon trainers and Pokemon games are memorable for a reason. Maybe it's their clothing, maybe it's the way they look, maybe it's the strong Pokemon that they use to face you. But when I tell you I've basically forgotten every character's name in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I mean it. I have not grown attached or interested in any of the characters in Scarlet and Violet. Seriously, can you tell me her name? What about his? What about hers? I even forgot the names of the main rivals? Except for Arvin, I could not have told you Nemona's name until I looked it up before I started recording this video. Oh my god, talking about these characters is so upsetting. I'm like genuinely sad that these characters are so forgettable. To this day, I remember seeing the gym leaders in Sword and Shield in that big cutscene where they all walk out all fancy. And another fun fact, I remember all of their names. I remember their personalities. I remember everything about them. And you know why? It's because the story told you that these guys were interesting. The story told you that these guys were strong and would be difficult to defeat. It was the story that gave them intriguing personalities and characteristics, and oh my god, Scarlet and Violet did none of that. Scarlet and Violet was just like, hey, there are these things you need to go to. They're located on your map. Go to them, beat them, and leave. So it's needless to say that none of the gym leaders in Scarlet and Violet have anything interesting to their name. Oh, and wait, that reminds me. Where was the story in Scarlet and Violet? Where was it? I'll tell you where. It was at the very end of the game. Sure, you can count defeating Team Star, defeating all the gym leaders, helping Arvin with the Titans as the main story. But the way they set it up, no, those feel like side quests, if anything. And to be kind of fair, I liked the ending of the game, but it just felt really cheap, just a small little time machine gimmick, and they called it a day. I have to admit it, I liked the whole Arvin and his mom being Professor Sada, that kind of thing. That was cool, I liked it. It definitely added some depth that the story desperately needed. but like, that's kind of it. But I will say it once and I will say it again, there is a reason the story is so weak and there was a way it could have been good. I blame the open world mechanic. I will get to how the open world looks like in a second, but I want to talk about the consequences of adding it had on the story. In past Pokemon games, you could roam around freely, but there was a set path and a way forward. Places you had to go to in order to progress the story. But unfortunately, because of this new open world mechanic, you can really go wherever you want, whenever you want, and it actually causes the story to not really be there. I mean, think about it. In past Pokemon games, you had a motive and a reason for going to the places that you needed to go to. In this game, you kind of just stumble upon a town and you're like, oh, okay, there's gotta be a gym here somewhere. Which leads me to the actual map itself. The whole Paldea region looks like garbage. Even though the map is huge, it looks all the same. It's the same grassy terrains, sand, and some rocks. Not to mention that every single town looks the same. Pokemon centers are just outside desks. There is nothing unique about this map. I don't want to complain about the graphics. I don't want to be that person, but at the same time, I have to admit it. It just looks cheap. It looks like it was rushed, which it probably was, because Nintendo and Game Freak are notorious for having rushed games, but the more and more Nintendo is trying to go down this realistic graphics type of deal, the more dull and lifeless their Pokemon games are looking. Everything just looks kind of plastic. There's no fantasy element to anything anymore because they're trying to go for this realistic type of game. I think Nintendo and Game Freak need to realize that top-notch graphics aren't really the most important thing. Tell me you're gonna remember what this guy looks like in 2 minutes after this video is done. You won't. You probably won't, and that is a problem. There's just no wonder in this game. There's no sense of adventure. There's no sense of, oh, I want to know what happens next, or ooh, that guy was so hard to beat, I need to work hard to try and get my Pokemon stronger to beat him. Trying to defeat these Titans and beat the gym leaders and beat the Elite Four, which wasn't that elite, It just felt like a chore. It didn't feel like I wanted to do this or I had any motivation to do this. But yeah, no, with the release of Scarlet and Violet, it makes me incredibly nervous on what Nintendo is going to release next. I really hope they listen to our criticisms, because if they don't, then I'm afraid that the Pokemon series will probably die out sooner or later. So, what do you guys think? Did you like Scarlet and Violet, or did you dislike it? Tell me down in the comment section below. I absolutely love hearing your guys' opinions, so don't be afraid. Like I say in every single one of my videos, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are doing well. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.